Hey, howdy, and welcome all to the Big and Bright Podcast. My name is Nick. This here next to me is James.
Howdy.
Guys, big news. Big
Very.
news happening today. World-changing. One of the most significant pieces of news to happen in my lifetime.
Pretty significant that it happened this week.
It's pretty tremendous, right? If in case you guys have not, if you're living under a rock and you haven't seen the news,
Yeah.
Linda Hidalgo, her indicted chief of staff, is currently being sued because he just got his hand caught in the cookie jar again. Right?
Freaking again.
And it was what? It was a day?
The day after
after
the court did their ruling on like, hey, here's your bond restrictions. All right, go about your day.
So for those of you guys,
no one's going to tell them, right? We have cameras. Are you flipping kidding me? And then you went on the record and signed the whole thing.
So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, because let's be real, you probably don't unless you watch this podcast, Linda Hidalgo is a Harris County judge who was in some hot water.
Well, she's not, but all of her direct understaff are pretty much in hot water.
Everybody that works under her, she's fine. But everyone that works under her has been very naughty. What ended up happening was they were utilizing COVID-19 funds and directing them specifically to...
well, the allegation is directed to a company that works pretty much exclusively with the Democratic committee members, Democratic Party in Texas.
So it's a sort of a pay-to-play situation, right?
Pay to play.
You're getting money from the COVID-19 funds because you're in support of the political party of this particular judge. Now, there's a whole big long thing, and when all of this pans out, we might actually have a discussion about whether or not forcing partisanship of judges by electing them is a good thing or a bad thing. I personally think that judges are going to be partisan regardless, but there is a discussion there. But the point is that the chief of staff, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering this guy's name. The guy's name is Alex Triantafyllis. I believe that's how you pronounce that. I think it's Greek.
His last name reads like a dinosaur name.
Yeah, or a Kryptonian name, right? The point is,
whatever that is,
I'm going to call him Mr. Triantafyllis, right? Or Monsieur Triantafyllis, or whatever it is, right? But this gentleman was directly indicted and put on bond for misallocation of these COVID-19 funds. And the next day showed up at a committee, right? This person's a DA, right? Yeah.
DA,
yeah. Showed up at a committee specifically about the allocation of COVID-19 funds and making priorities on that, and voted on record.
Nick, it's not a selection committee. It's a steering committee. Totally different.
Can you tell me the difference?
Steering committee may help define how funds are going to be distributed, but they don't distribute the funds. Therefore, totally different.
It's a steering committee, right? A steering committee tells the selection committee where to distribute the funds, but it wasn't the selection committee, so they didn't actually distribute the funds. So it's all good, right? And of course, who came to Mr. It's already
Mr. Dinosaur.
Yeah, Mr. Dinosaur. We're going to call him Mr. Dinosaur.
Triantafyllis,
right? Mr. Triantafyllis. So who came to Mr. Dinosaur?
Okay, side note. That kid must have had a tough job in grade school.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, you can't spell your name. Can you spell my name? This is freaking retarded.
Well, if you say it another way, it sounds like a venereal disease where it's like Triantafyllis.
Yeah.
Is Mr. Triantafyllis here?
Yeah. I'm not dating that guy.
Yeah. Triantafyllis, I guess, is probably the better way of saying it. I'm going to call him Mr. Dinosaur. So Mr. Dinosaur gets selected, right? I guess. Which, by the way, did anybody on this committee, when he showed up, go, "Hey,
something's up here.
You can't be here, right? Weren't you just indicted?" But he shows up for this selection
committee.
Keep it
on the DL, bud.
He votes. He's now now the criminal judge is going, "Hey, we're gonna pursue an investigation." And guess who came to Mr. Dinosaur's defense?
Judge Hidalgo.
Judge Hidalgo saying
the exact same verbiage.
Literally,
it's a steering committee, not a selection committee.
It was so.
And this is all fabricated. This is all blown out of proportion. It's like, yeah, bro.
So much cope. So much cope from Mrs. Hidalgo.
To be fair,
honor, right?
from her perspective, it's like, I gotta do some CYA here. That kind of it's going to get back to her. She knows if it goes really haywire with them, The next question is, so who directed this?
So let me ask you this question. What does it take to get a judge impeached in the state of Texas? Because this sounds like something that we should be able to disbar her for.
Not yet. I mean, granted, a lot of the ethics things is you have to avoid the appearance of improprieties. So, I mean, even if it's like, well, hey, you're like, say you're a partner in some kind of company, which could eventually come into your court. Well, you were a partner before you became a judge. It's like that was beside the fact. Doesn't matter. The appearance could show that anyone a part of that partnership or whatever could end up in your court, would give favoritism. So you're likely just going to back down and say, all right, I'm out, because the appearance could look bad. But this one, appearance looks pretty bad. However, since it is a criminal thing, it's kind of tough to put the cart in front of the horse and say, because he indicted, he's therefore guilty. Well, that's not how justice system works, even though a lot of us, especially guys on our side, want to believe it already and go, here you go. There still is a court case.
There's still an investigation. But when you're under investigation,
when you get told to not go, and then you go, it's kind of like, all right, Mr. Dinosaur, do you have history of mental handicap to where you can't understand basic English? No. All right. The crap.
What's going on?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
If it's a no, then...
This is a story up on this. Says, indicted Hidalgo chief of staff allegedly cannot wait a full day before breaking bail.
Allegedly. No, he went. There's no alleged. Dude went. And now it's the parsing of words. It's a steering committee. Not an election committee. Totally fine.
Good gracious. Right. You're indicted for doing a specific thing, and the next day. My son does that. My 1-year-old does that, right? I'd be like, Owen, did you eat the cookies when Daddy told you not to? No. Well, nope. Daddy thinks you did, right? Daddy's judge jury next
chocolate around your face.
So we're going to our room. We're going to timeout. And then we take him out of timeout. I pick him up. I go wash my hands. Come back. What's he doing? Eating another cookie. I'm like, we just discussed this.
No, you said chocolate chip. This is a sugar cookie, Dad.
We just had this conversation. What are you doing? You got to go back into timeout. That's fine when you're talking about a 1-year-old. This dude's what? This dude's a man. He's 40.
Yeah.
Right? This guy's
I'm a man.
This guy's a grown adult. What are you doing? Good gracious. Now, as clearly defined, right? I think we
I think he identifies as a man.
That's true.
Or a woman. Or who cares?
The point is, Harris County's a mess. Y'all gotta, if we could just do like if we could just take everything,
just her precinct,
cut out that whole precinct, take Travis County in there, all the Astros fans, just throw them out, right?
Be nice to the Astros.
Hey, I will not be nice to the Harris County Heretics. Okay. The point here,
you're just mad they have a championship.
Asterisk.
Just like Boston, just like New York Yankees, because that actually came out last week.
Asterisk. Point being,
like everybody else.
Point being. 2 things. 1, Texas Rangers are the only Texas baseball team. 2,
without a World Series, yes.
We kind of hit the ball on this whole Hidalgo thing, because clearly people probably have not heard about Hidalgo.
But you have now.
You have now, right? This is why you should watch this show, guys. It's good to be informed. This is why you should watch us. This is why you should follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere.
We're so late. Yes, we share our stuff. We are on Twitter.
We are on Twitter, right? At Big and Bright Pod. Please engage with us there. Leave a like and comment. Smash that like button. Ring a bell. There's apparently a bell you're supposed to ring. Do all that. Really helps us out. We really appreciate it. But the reason why you follow us is for these sort of fringe news cases. But as we
it's not really fringe when you're from Texas.
We sort of hit the ball at the beginning. Really, we do need to talk about the actual case that you probably know about if you haven't been living under a rock, which is this leaked SCOTUS ruling. So let's just quickly review.
We're going to start wading through Roe here?
We are going to start wading through, we're going to start wading through Roe, right? We'll make this as a national case. Yes, but it is specifically a national case about reverting power back to the states. And
Federalism!
We need to discuss what our state needs to do if and when that happens, which looks very likely. That Roe's going to secede. We need a secede button. That's what we need. Secede! Right?
No consequences, though. I don't want the consequence part. Just want the good parts.
The point is, if this gets kicked back to the states, what can Texas do? What will Texas do? And what should Texas do? we need to make sure that we have that sort of set out because it's a complicated issue, even after Roe's overturned, right? So let's first of all discuss what Roe is. And I know you've probably heard this 1,000 times, but we do need to make sure that we clarify it before we move forward. If Roe is overturned, that does not make abortion illegal in the United States.
Sadly, no.
What that does is it kicks it back to the states, and the states get to decide for their own state what they're going to do, right? So
it's very undemocratic to allow Democratic votes to decide whether or not you want abortion.
That's very true.
That's the very point
Federalism.
that I'm mad about this potential thing that hasn't actually happened yet.
Here's the thing. Will there be less abortions in the United States after Roe versus Wade? Very likely, yes.
Yeah, I know. People live.
Will there be less in much? And that's awesome. That's the number one reason that you should be in support of Roe versus Wade being overturned is fewer dead babies, right? Let's all agree fewer dead babies is a good thing.
I'm not going to agree because I'm just inclined not to agree with you.
Two, well, you're free not to agree with me on that particular issue, man. You're wrong. But two, you should celebrate Roe versus Wade being overturned because it's returning us to federalism. And federalism is the best thing that this country has, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to our government, right, and what our government does better than anyone else, federalism, which, by the way, the only other Western country I believe that has federalism is Germany, and they do a terrible job at it. But having a good federalist system is the ultimate check against tyranny, right? Because you have one government, but at the same time, that government exists alongside the state governments who have direct challenge to it. So the less things that we put in the purview of the federal government, the better. That's my personal opinion.
That's fair.
And Roe takes that away. Now, let's move on. What happens, and I'm going to talk to Justice James because you're here. You're about the law and the facts. I'm not about that life. I'm more about,
are we going to just go
more about
over
the art of politics, right?
Are we just going to gloss over about how the crap this thing got leaked?
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Are
That's
you
a big
serious?
deal too, isn't it?
Like,
good gracious.
but and I mean, it's stupid. And now you have people. I think it's called like the Ruth sent us or something like that.
Ruth sent us. Yeah,
they're doxing
going to Justice's homes.
Yeah,
right. And
they're saying we're going to the right wing, and they said 6, and I was like, how do you get to 6? But whatever, maybe 5. Anyways,
they come out. They'll go to Robert's house. Robert's
he's
like,
I agree with you.
I already voted again. Like, what do you want?
I tried. Alito didn't listen. He just wrote that crap.
Oh,
anyways, yeah, that's great. And the Psaki was asked about it. Biden, he's like, well, then people get passionate. It's like, so we're going back to 2020, mostly peaceful riots, are we? Here we are.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I can't believe it got leaked. It's never really happened.
So who do you think leaked it?
I think it's someone from Justice.
Total speculation.
Yeah, total speculation. I think it's from Justice Breyer's clerk.
You don't think it's Sotomayor?
Well, if Breyer directed it, it's an automatic. You're going to be impeached. It's easy.
Yeah.
Well, you're impeached. All right, get me on the last day. I don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes away someone's retirement. I don't know. I don't really care.
Yeah.
It got leaked, and despite the own which the leaker tried to do, and the left is of course just going around. Hardly anybody's ever talked. No, actually, no Democrat from Texas is really talking about like, let's worry about the leak. They're worried about the decision because it takes away a piece of their religion to kill babies to Moloch.
That's true.
And hey, basically the same thing. They're just not burning them.
We're not alleging that all Democrats worship Moloch, but we're also not alleging that.
not alleging. Anyways, it got leaked. I'm wondering what the heck happened, but fine. Well, the own actually is now. Well, now it takes the sting out of it if it goes this way.
Mm-hmm.
So and our Chief Justice, that's not a conservative, Robert said this was a draft. This does not reflect the ending of the thing, which we'll see. But so far, the draft has me wrong because I didn't think that the totally conservative Chief Justice Roberts would allow this.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Well, I mean, his whole thing is about the integrity of the court anyways.
Yeah.
And now you have something that's like, this is the most egregious slight against the integrity of the court that's happened in the history of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And he's like, well,
no, he's having an investigation.
Yeah.
He's actually doing that part.
Okay.
The DOJ is doing nothing. Is it an actual crime? Nah, I can't really find anything about that.
With regard to who leaked this, I think that if it was from the Breyer camp, it was at the behest of. I think that if it was from the Breyer camp, it was basically all of the liberal judges, Kagan, Sotomayor, and Breyer, got together. I don't think Roberts would have been a part of this.
No,
but I think it would have been Kagan, Sotomayor, and Breyer, or maybe just Sotomayor came and said, "Hey, listen, we want to do this. Let's just throw this out to you because
we could pressure the other side to go with us."
I think that if Breyer did it, if Breyer's the one that actually leaked it, right, or someone from his staff actually leaked it, I think it was at the behest of one of the other judges. I think it's more likely that Sotomayor did this. Breyer's kind of an old guy. He's part of the old guard. He's kind of in that camp with Roberts about wanting the integrity of the court and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if you have a justice with the sort of inflamed passion and the special combination of inflamed passion and low IQ that it takes in order to do something like this, you're looking at Sotomayor.
You call him Sotomayor a flamer?
Yeah. But friends, it was the point is that the fact that this is leaked is probably the biggest part of this.
Yeah, and the left can't stick to their own argument. They want to say like this is an injustice, we have precedent, blah blah blah, and now they're moving on to what about Obergefell? What about? It's like, oh, stick to this gun, stick to this gun. You can't because the issue is like, how is it moral to allow this?
Yeah,
that's not the point. That's the entire
point.
Flipping point. Yeah. If you can't persuade it, and you want it to come from on high down to the rest. That shows your crappy argument. Because
didn't President Day say that they were going to be, pretty soon they're going to be banning interracial marriages? And I'm like, isn't Clarence Thomas currently in an interracial marriage?
Yeah, his wife is white. Yep.
So, I mean, it's getting kind of ridiculous here. The fact that this is leaked is just a tremendous breach of justice, and I think that if we discover whoever it is, we should throw the book at them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, you got to think about this from this.
It's not an actual crime though, because people try to say Espionage Act. It's not classified.
Okay.
It's a draft, and likely there's NDAs you have to sign as you work for the court to not put this out. So you may have breached the NDA, but I don't think it's a criminal crime. I just think it's egregious.
Here's the thing. You got to look at this from a political perspective. You got to do a little bit of political calculus here, right? If you're this person,
I wasn't good at
math. You're looking at Roe versus Wade. You're probably in Breyer or Sotomayor's camp. Maybe Kagan's probably not. But you're in one of these camps. You're a very liberal person. You don't want Roe versus Wade to overturn. So what's the calculation here? Either A, you keep it secret, keep it safe, right?
Do exactly how you've done.
You do exactly how you do every other court, right? You do what the standard of the court is. And it comes out, and ultimately this decision is made. Roe gets overturned, or you put it out there. Okay, the chances are Roe's still probably going to be overturned, right? Because it's still there. So now you're still at your worst case scenarios, but you get probably indictment. Yes, you're probably disbarred, but I'm telling you, if this person comes out. Wait a couple of years. They're going to get book deals. Oh, yeah. They're going to get interviews. They're going to be like If it
wasn't the opposite side, they'd have been in jail by now.
Oh my gosh, this person is going to be a hero, right? And so the thing is you say, okay, I let this go, and this thing that I think is bad happens, or I do this, the thing still happens, and I probably get a little bit of a slap on the wrist on it because, like you said, James, it's not a crime, which I think is a dumb term, but whatever.
You know what I mean?
And I'm a hero. Right now I'm spoken about through. I'm written into the annals of history. Literally, you'll be written about in history books.
You'll be as famous as the Roe.
As the Roe. Exactly. So yeah, I think that if you're sort of a low level person looking at this and you're saying, hey, I'm basically weighing my legal career versus something that I could do that would legitimately be unique to history. I don't think it's a terribly difficult decision. Honestly, yeah. I can totally empathize with why someone would do that. But yeah, it's whoever it is, you're a bad person. That being said, let's talk about what Texas is going to do, right? So let's first of all talk about what happens. Roe gets overturned tomorrow, which should happen because, in my opinion, at this point, Justice Roberts should just release the opinion. But Roe gets overturned tomorrow. What happens?
Trigger law.
Trigger law.
Trigger law was passed in our House and our Senate. House Bill 1280. It completely allows abortion 30 days after the court ruling.
Allows? So, did you mean outlaws?
Outlaws. Sorry.
You said completely allows.
Completely allows it. Completely allows it. I'm super psyched. Yeah. No, completely outlaws it. currently does not have an exception for rape or incest. I'm pretty sure that'll be looked at because they kind of put this on the back burner. It's like, we'll just do this for a just in case. Now the in case is actually likely, so we're going to probably put an amendment in there. That's fine. What this does is it does allow a person who faces substantial impairment of major bodily functions to acquire an abortion. What that means in the gobbledygook: risk of death, life-threatening physical condition. That's how Texas defines it for our House bill. If you violate it, that's a $100K fine or life in prison. Other states have this, or other states have had this trigger law as well, one of them being Oklahoma. So at least we do agree with Oklahoma on one thing.
So here's the thing. For those of you that are confused as to what a trigger law is, a trigger law is, as far as I understand, not a law that is the stipulation if Roe versus Wade is overturned?
Correct.
Okay.
Has to be overturned, and it's basically like a tripwire. All right, then here we go.
The law,
30-day count.
so the law goes into effect without a vote, without needing to, because the law's already been passed, right? This is effectively a law that's already been voted on, already been passed.
Yeah, the vote happened with the law.
And so it goes into effect at the onset of Roe versus Wade. Not only is Texas got a trigger law, not only Oklahoma, I believe Georgia does as well.
I have the list right here if you want.
You do? Go for it.
Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Utah. And
Oklahoma. It's the best thing I've ever heard about Oklahoma,
That's
to be
fair.
honest with you.
So, okay, I'll say it right. Oklahoma.
Right? Here's the thing, though. I think that if this happens, if this happens in Texas, the trigger law goes into effect. I don't think there's any overturning.
Trigger law.
I really don't.
Saying it. Trigger law.
I think trigger law goes into effect. I don't see it overturned. A couple of those states, I think they might. I think a couple of those states within a couple of years will probably overturn.
We just kind of passed it. We didn't think it actually happened. Sorry,
Louisiana,
guys.
Louisiana and Missouri. Sorry, I think Louisiana and Missouri overturned their laws. Right.
I don't know.
Texas. I don't see that happening. So yes, that happens. It's outlawed across the board. Now, is there anything more to do? Because let me be clear about
Texas standpoint?
From a Texas standpoint, yeah.
Okay, keep going.
Let me be clear about something.
Trying to clarify.
If you're pro-life, which an overwhelming majority of Texans are, the Roe versus Wade is the beginning of the fight, not the end, right? I was watching Elizabeth Warren do her like satanic rant about
with her boy haircut just flying in the wind.
Angry that we can't kill our babies, right? Her Molech tattoo was showing, but anyway, during this rant, she says this is the end game. This is what Republicans have been working towards, and that's true. But the way she made it sound was like, once this is done, that's the end, right?
They want it to be the end.
They want it to be the end, but it's not. If you're genuinely pro-life, Roe versus Wade is just the starting point to the battleground, right? The real battleground is getting abortion ended in the United States, right? The real battleground is to go the other way and find ways to start outlawing abortion because it is a blight, it is a sin, and it is a huge black mark on the history of this country. I would go so far as to say it's a worse black mark than slavery is. I don't think, I think that they're relatively equivalent, but the fact is that I think that this is a scourge and it needs to be taken out altogether, regardless of where you live in the United States. But Roe versus Wade is the first step in doing that. So are there some measures that we could take as Texans, right? Is there some of the measures that the Texas state could take to help move that agenda forward?
Secede.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, to me, Roe versus Wade, when Roe versus Wade is gone, the case for secession is over. Because it's no longer a federal mandate.
There's still many reasons to secede.
Just because other states do bad things, that's not a reason to secede. That would be like saying that the North should have seceded because the South had slaves, right? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I think the case for secession is over. Is there anything else that anything practical that Texas could do to help forward that agenda?
For what? Y'all all outlaw it as well?
Yeah.
Start acquiring the original Texas that goes all the way to Colorado. Make that all Texas. And then we put the same law in there.
Yeah, we could do that.
Then a bit of it, for some reason, we still allow, like, that park can still sell weed, but
sections of Colorado.
Don't bring it down here. You're in trouble.
Sections of Colorado and California.
Make California look pretty again.
Mm-hmm. Make California Texas again.
Mm.
The other thing that's important to note, I would say, is we do elect our judges here in Texas. And I think
like Hidalgo.
I think like Hidalgo, right? I think maybe if you start getting cases about certain aspects of abortion, maybe that go to the Supreme Court, you can start working it the other way through the court system.
What, having other states be like us?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
okay, hold on. I don't know. I don't think you can do that.
One of the key. Okay, so let's say that, and it wouldn't be something that you can do. It wouldn't be something that you should do all at once, right? It wouldn't be like ban abortion, but like we'd go kind of what they were doing with Planned Parenthood v. Casey, right? So for example, let's say that
just split the baby.
Poor choice of words.
I think it's exactly the right choice of words.
Let's say this. Let's say that a man is suing his wife because they got pregnant. He didn't want an abortion, but she got one anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Where?
Was that?
Where?
In Texas, right? It happens in Texas.
Well, then.
The courts take that and maybe start moving that up through the process, right, into the appellate courts and starting establishing law and pushing that issue. Maybe that's another thing. Well, now, in order to get an abortion, we make it federal law that if you're in a marriage, that both parties have to consent to the abortion. Right?
I don't know about a marriage. I think the dad has a right either way.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like I'm saying, I'm trying to work it incrementally here, right?
Right,
and that's another cap on abortion. And so we work it federally, case by case, to try and make it as narrow as possible.
I think what you're talking about requires another 50 to 60 years. It took 50 years for this thing to be overturned.
That's true.
Allegedly, because we still have no clue if it actually is overturned. This could be like a draft. They're like, yeah, we don't really like that, and then Justice Roberts like, we're gonna just write something that's more neutral.
I think there's no way. There's
we'll
no
see.
way. Now that it's leaked, there's no way.
This has never happened before. Yeah. We have no freaking idea. This was in February when this leak came from. A lot of times since February. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Texas should be pursuing to have other states do exactly how they do it, because it is federalism. And while I do disagree with other states just allowing it pretty much till birth, because that's what California wants to do, they've already said they want to put it in their amendments. They believe in it so much in their fake religion to Moloch that they want to put it in their state constitution. Fine. Whatever. Sodom and Gomorrah, let's whatever. We'll see what happens. Anyways, Texas can't force its way for everybody else to do that. However, I would agree with it. You can't do that. You got to let those people in that state vote it out, and that's what Democrats are afraid of. And I think you'll see a lot more of those laws crumble because the vote will have to be allowed to them, and all of a sudden they'll be disappointed because now those simple talking heads that are pundits can't be the voice for the whole thing. It's like, right, that's only one person that's not in your state. Yep. Oh, but all his tweets, which also aren't in your state. What does your state want? I mean, that's how we got a Burgefell. Basically, a few states tried to get gay marriage passed. It didn't happen a couple times. I think in California even didn't really happen for actual true marriage. So then they sued for it, and that's how we eventually got it. Even California was still like, well, come on, man. We're not going to fully allow. You can do like a union. We want to be the exact same, but you're not the exact same. Yeah. So that's how it really happens. So that's why they're afraid. That's why they're going full force. And that's why they're doxing Supreme Court justices' houses to protest. Sure. And by the way, you can skip one of the houses. We all know which house you can skip. Yeah. He ain't going to vote that way. Yeah. There's not 6. There's 5.
Yeah. Here's one thing that I think we should focus on is that the great thing about taking Roe away is that it takes Roe out of federal law. And it moves that decision into the states. And one of the things about federalism that's so great is that when laws are kept up to the states, it becomes a cultural thing. More so than if it's federal law. Because if it's federal law, then it's just, that's what it is.
Yeah, no choice.
There's no moving forward, right? But as states move and shift, right? States and state demographics shift all the time. And so it becomes more of an amorphous cultural thing, which means it's not moved by legislation, it's moved by public opinion.
I mean, we even said that for Texas. I mean, we didn't have all 3 branches of our Texas government be red, even for like the governor since 1990.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, people think Texas has been red for eons, and he was like, no, it's pretty blue.
Yeah.
And then it went red because it went smart.
So what should Texans do? Texans at this point
secede.
Well, no, we shouldn't secede.
Dang it.
I thought
I feel like I'm in like Bible class. It's like, Jesus, God, the Bible. I'm right. I feel like secede's always the answer.
I thought immediately that like what Texas should do is like threaten to secede. Yeah. Like, we're threatening to secede. We're taking all of our GDP with us unless you.
And then they call our bluff like, never mind, my bad.
The point.
We didn't think you'd actually believe us.
The point here is that we have a situation where Texas can make changes not by making laws or court cases, but by actively participating in the culture. And we're seeing that in a big way, right? There's lots of media corporations now that are moving out of Texas, or that are producing out of Texas, right? Yeah. They're not moving out, but they're producing out of Texas.
They want cheaper taxes. They're moving to Texas.
We start becoming a bigger part of the culture. We become the next California, minus the political persuasion. You could probably start seeing change happening that way.
Yeah.
That's really the biggest thing.
So wait. Are you advocating for change and you hope it happens?
I do. I do hope that change happens.
Oh.
When it comes to abortion.
Oh. Sounds like a president you love.
Okay. You can't copyright single word. I'm fairly certain that there's a legal thing, right? You can't copyright a single word. Right. If I use the word,
Ohio State tried to incorporate "the" for their trademark, and they were like, "No."
Yeah, exactly. Right. Every time you use a definite article, you have to pay Ohio State. Now that's ridiculous, right? But the point is, yes, I hope it changes. But there's a lot behind those words when Barack Obama used them as opposed to when I'm using them. Right.
Yeah.
Now, guys, I want to take a moment here just to say this. And I know we try to stay, you guys know our biases, right? But we try and not be super political when it comes to this kind of stuff. When it comes to abortion, I'm sorry. Like, I'm
you apologizing?
I'm going to tell you this right now. You should not be pro-choice. Like, you should, there is a right and a wrong here. And I love to participate in the nuance and the art of politics. This isn't an art of politics thing. This is a correct versus incorrect, right? This is a good versus bad. You should not kill babies.
Well, those who advocate for it, Elizabeth Warren being one of them, and she went all a little rant, they have to scream. They have to show emotion. They have to then change the argument to, this could be for a Obergefell, this could be for interracial marriage. It's like, because you can't stay on point. Yeah. You can't define your terms. Because it's funny, 10 minutes ago, men can be women. Now, men should be talking about this because you're not a woman.
Because you're not a woman.
Well, what's a woman?
Yes, I am. Well, that's what you say. I am a woman.
Yeah.
I actually identify as gender fluid.
Yeah.
And what triggers my gender fluidity to move into woman is talking about abortion.
There you go.
So whenever the topic of abortion comes up, I become a woman.
Yeah.
And then my gender fluidity reversed back to being a man when we're not talking about
that. Has to be one of the 88,000 new genders that are out there. It's probably one of you. If not, just create it.
Look it up. It's called topical triggering gender fluidity.
There you go.
It's very important.
He may be the only person
there's
for
a
now.
Massive article on it, super academic article that I'm going to write in the next 10 minutes.
What color in that atrocious rainbow flag they've now put everything in there for? Which color is that?
It's going to be fuchsia.
Fuchsia.
We're the fuchsia one.
Ooh.
Right? Here's
fuchsia camo, actually.
Here's the point, friends. It is wrong to kill babies. End of sentence.
Yeah.
Right? End of thought. That's just the end of it.
Hey.
Now, do I not have sympathy for people who are in bad situations with regard to pregnancy? Of course I do. Right? I mean, this isn't something that I talk about a whole lot, but I've been in the experience of having a pregnancy scare as a very young person, right? And knowing where that could lead my life and what that would do. I've experienced that fear, right? Now, I've never actually had a child out of wedlock, so I don't know how that manifests, but I understand it's difficult. I understand it's a problem. And yes, we should absolutely have mechanisms in this country to support women and men, parents that are in that situation. Yeah. We should have more programs that are designed towards helping and assisting people who are having children.
You know who usually has those programs, though?
Churches.
People on the right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we don't care about them once they're born is the allegation. It's like, no.
Assisting these people.
No.
And again, not government situations, but actual charitable programs that people can look towards.
Planned Parenthood is freaking out right now. It's like, wait, I thought most of your program was an abortion. It's not, but this is really bad. Seems like a lot of your appropriation is for abortions.
But the reality is I understand that fear. I do. Also, you shouldn't kill babies.
Yeah.
Right? Well, Nick, what about somebody who has been a victim of sexual assault? That's terrible. And I feel utterly ashamed of people who did that.
The percentage.
Okay. Let's say that the percentage is high. Let's
It's
just
not.
It's not. No, it's
Not at
not.
all.
It's less than 1%.
1%.
But let's say for a second that it's 30%, which would be outrageous. That's unbelievable. Let's say it's 30%. 30% of people that seek abortions is because of sexual assault. That's terrible. That's a horrible thing.
It's a product of defunding the police.
And the person who assaulted you should go to prison for life, if not be castrated or killed.
I think both.
Also, you shouldn't kill babies.
Yep.
Right?
It's an innocent third party.
That's the thing, is that there's a lot of terrible things that happen out there in the world. And there's a lot of really difficult things that people have to overcome in the world. That's life. That's the way it happens, right?
It's a fallen
There's
world.
difficult things all the time. But you shouldn't kill babies. End of sentence.
Yeah.
That's no more additions or addendums to that thought. You shouldn't do it, right? So that's my rant. Sorry. I just wanted to throw that out there because this was an opportunity.
Well, okay. Here's some good news. We'll come back to the Supreme Court because Abbott kind of said something a little bit. But I'll sprinkle a little good news. Texas has a new record. All right?
What record?
Texas now has the Guinness World Record for the world's tallest male dog. Zeus is his name. He's a Great Dane. He is 3 foot, 5.18 inches.
Do you have a picture of Zeus?
I do not.
Okay.
I'll have a link, though.
All right.
It's a big puppy.
How
does that fit into this show?
It doesn't.
I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cool. So I just saw that and figured Nick wouldn't like it. So back to Abbott. Abbott this week has actually talked about a potential looking into certain rules for another Supreme Court case because it's like, tick, moving on. This one's called Plyer v. Doe. It's from 1982, Supreme Court case that basically said if you go to public school, you don't have to pay for going, unless of course taxes and all that stuff. Like, don't have to here's admissions.
You don't have to write admissions.
Yeah. And the reason why is because for illegal immigrants, that's what we were doing. It's like you're not here legally. You're a child of an illegal immigrant that wasn't born here. Therefore, you're not here legally. You have to pay in admissions. That's illegal. So they went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court decided in that favor of the illegal immigrants. And don't worry, the article that will release it says migrants because they want to use euphemisms. It's illegal immigrant. Mm-hmm. And they expanded the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment because explicitly it says any person within its jurisdiction, the equal protection of the laws. Doesn't specify that it has to be someone who's a citizen. Doesn't specify someone who's a green card holder. It says any person. And they read that and put there, which is kind of a fair reading because it does say any person. However, this is all political because it's a state school, state-funded school. Therefore, the state should have the ability to talk about it. So that's how we get here.
And the other thing is, so let's talk about the 14th Amendment for a second. And maybe you can sling some legal BS at me that I'm not aware of. But let me be... Okay.
Give me a try.
So... it says any person under the jurisdiction thereof, right, in the 14th Amendment.
Correct.
Is due what? Equal protection of the laws. Is education a protection of the law? It seems to me like that is not a protection, but a provision of the law, right? So a protection of the law would be the police come to your house if you're being threatened with murder, right? Somebody's trying to steal something from your bank account and the government causes that person to reimburse you, right?
The government's usually the one doing
that. That is the law protecting you and your assets, right? It's protecting you. Whereas education, free education, is not protecting you with something. It is providing you with something, right? So this is not a protection of the law, but rather a provision of the law. Now, maybe there's some weird legalese definition that I'm missing here. But if I speak the King's English, protection and provision are not the same thing.
King Abbott or?
Yes. Long may he reign.
Long may he reign.
Here's the thing.
There's another argument there that we're not going to get into.
I don't think that this is a protection of the law. I don't think that free education is a protection.
It's not free.
It's a provision, right?
It's not free.
Okay, I don't think that taxpayer-funded education is a protection. It's a provision.
It's protecting them from having to have something different than anybody else in the state of Texas. If you're a child in Texas, you want to go to public school, all you got to do is enroll. And then enrollment basically means you're in that tax issue. You're already paying taxes anyways. You're in. Mm-hmm. Only thing you got to pay for is likely supplies.
Yeah. So
why do you have to pay supplies if you already live there too? Illegally, but you're still living there.
This is a thought that I had.
What's the issue?
This would be like kind of breaking the game a little bit, but they'd say, okay, right, it's all persons under the jurisdiction thereof. What if we just said, okay, if you're an illegal immigrant, you receive no benefits, but you're not under our jurisdiction, right? So the law is not going to come to you if you want to commit crimes. That's the responsibility of the citizens of Texas.
I don't know if you can do that. I'm pretty sure you can't do that.
So it's just
Be like,
Wild West.
Yeah, the Constitution should be like, yeah, you can. You can't do that. But no. You're literally like writing a little asterisk in the 14th, like, and Texas law. No.
Worth a shot.
Yes. American Federation of Teachers. I think
Federation of Teachers.
Federation Teachers.
Yeah, it's the American.
Zeph Capo. Wow, what are they? Weird names.
Some weird names, man.
He stated,
"What's your name, Zeph?"
Yeah. Children should be punished for the political ambitions of adults, nor should they be judged for the decisions of their parents, who oftentimes are trying to provide a life for their children that's free from violence. Okay, I'm going to call BS from the get-go, but I'm with you when they shouldn't be caught in the middle. I'm with you there, because it's not their fault while they're here. Where else are you going to go when your parents take you somewhere? Mm-hmm. Not all of them are coming here for free from violence. A lot of them are coming here for economic asylum. That's not actually asylum. Well, in a Democratic meaning it is, but not in reality. But I'm with them on they shouldn't be judged for it, so it's kind of tough to make this decision.
So,
Supreme Court also, the Capo said, Supreme Court wisely saw the benefits of providing education for immigrant children, illegal immigrant children, regardless of their legal status, because they're illegal. Kids who will be educated and productive members of society. You can't guarantee that. However, if you are saying you want them to be in society eventually, you got to kind of give them education or to let them run around. What's the alternative? Illegal school?
Well, the alternative is, and I know that this is controversial. Yeah. Like this. We could enforce existing border policy.
Nick!
We could deport
That's
people who
racist.
Are here illegal. No, it's not. It's not racist. Because all of these problems go away if you just enforce border policy. Right? If you just get to the point where
you just want the white patriarchy to be the law of the land.
Not true. Not true at all.
You don't know how.
I do, because most Cubans in Florida agree with me.
You're biased.
Most people from Cuba agree with me, which is why Cubans
are now... This is the face of racism
which
here.
Is not why it's
enforcing
really
laws.
Somebody said that Cubans are the new white people, right? Cubans are basically white Hispanics.
Because they don't agree with them politically?
There's a baseball player his name is Adolis Garcia. He plays for the Texas Rangers, one of the best right fielders in baseball, in my opinion. He is Cuban. Look that guy up and tell me he's white.
Yeah.
that dude is
a little dark.
That dude is not white.
A little
right?
dark.
You got to smile to see him in the dark. He is very not white, right? But he's a great baseball player.
He doesn't speak English very well, but he can play baseball.
But he can play baseball. That dude can play baseball. But anyway, here's the point, friends. Really, this is an issue of.
This is also speculation.
This would go away. All of this would go away if you would just enforce it.
This is speculation. This story only exists because Abbott happened to say something like, I'm going to kind of look into it. Is he? I don't know. Lieutenant Governor, of course, he couldn't help himself. I'm going to keep something. Shut up. You just shut up. Just let him. It was done. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to look into it. What happens if you look into it? I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
Nothing yet. How do we actually do this? I'm not sure, because you can kind of take it to the court and say, hey, we shouldn't be doing this as a state. We think it's unconstitutional. That's the best way. That's going to be a tough shot even get to the Supreme Court, because a lot of them are just going to knock it down and going, dude, you have to have a controversy. Mm-hmm. Your controversy is, well, we don't like it. All right. It doesn't mean it's not an argument. It's just going to be real tough to argue. We'll see.
I believe you. Friends, these are going to be interesting times.
Right? Yep.
Texas is moving forward. Texas is making changes. And those changes we could see influence national policy. And so the point here is that we can't get tired, right? Nope. The fight's not over. We're moving forward. This is where we become that light in the darkness. This is where we become the stars at night. We are
big and bright.
We'll see you next week.